Internet, my friend. How can I help you?
We're online.
All systems go!
And in your face.
Oops, I did it again. Hold on, John.
You are listening to the golden microphones of the IMC Radio. News, opinions, and your calls.
We're actually live on air.
You gotta see that big picture.
Sometimes if you stop the machine, then you realize, whoa.
You know, you have to have some foresight.
Hold on.
What kind of an effect is that going to have on air travel?
Here we go.
How
Hold on.
important is aviation to you?
To the base, come to the place, and we set the pace high. Break to the lights, like the morning sky. Skids, they fly to the air, and they rush and drill. Systems and brothers, come on and now, we got some moving with the movement of the revolution. But my roving, the trick, the music is all done.
And we're live from behind the golden microphones of IMC Radio. You're listening to Plain Talk. I'm Howie Marlin.
And I'm John Roberts.
And we're reporting to you
Just
from...
the two of us today. Alex Mishikowski is off in Oshkosh, having a little fun there, doing some work. And Derek is probably burning some holes in the sky. Would you say, Howie?
Well, we certainly hope so.
Yeah,
Wish
yeah.
him all the best. And so it's John and I flying solo, flying blind, flying an IMC here this afternoon. And we're going to do our best. I've got some fun stuff to talk about. And we're just going to keep going, John, because we are live.
Yeah, we got a lot. Excellent, great, yeah. So, Howie, what are the winds like over there today? You did some flying?
Phenomenally gorgeous. I'm going to...
One of those beautiful fall days in New England, huh?
Absolutely. It's severe clear, very dry, and just brilliant. Blowing like 7 from direct north, and it's just a fantastically beautiful day.
Oh, that's great. You know, my first short cross solo was Martha's Vineyard. I couldn't think of a better place. I think it's like 53 miles from Norwood. So it was a great first time to kind of hop over water, and it was just beautiful. What a beautiful place the vineyard is.
It's certainly interesting. I'm going to tell you this for those of you that don't fly over water much. During my primary training, I had kept going back and forth to Hyannis, and being late in the season, he actually signed me off for night flight. So I'm flying at night over the water back to my home base with 10 hours.
Whoa!
Sometimes it got a little hairy. I mean, I never put myself into jeopardy. My instructor would never do that, but it was certainly very interesting, especially coming back to Katama, flying over the ocean, over a fence, onto the grass at night. Well, I only did that once. It was at sunset because you can't land at night, but that was hysterical, and I only had a couple of hours. So good for you. I'm glad you had that opportunity.
Oh, it was great, and then once I got my private, it was one of my favorite places just to go for lunch because everybody loved it. They just loved it. It's just going to the vineyard. It was a fun place to go, and it was a relatively inexpensive flight, so close. But I love it. Yeah, was it JetBlue? I know. There's commuter flights out of the vineyard, but now they're getting big, huh?
Well, yeah. Well, we have JetBlue is regularly scheduled. I actually passed by one this afternoon, and that tapers off when the season starts to get cold. And
right.
What most of you who have never been out on the islands probably aren't aware of, September, October, the winds change direction and they get really cold. So all the warmth and the joy of the summer vacation environment really does go away, and we become, for all intent and purpose, just another isolated rural New England community.
It is beautiful. It is just beautiful.
Well, it still is beautiful, and I'll tell you that, with the fall colors and all that. But we're not talking about too much aviation at this point. But I'll tell you that it really gets lonesome out here, and when you're landing and you're checking in for the what is it, the skid rate, for the texture of the runway.
Right. Yeah.
with all the ice. And speaking of which, Hey, John, do you have a snowblower down there in Florida?
No, not yet. I haven't been here long enough tonight. As soon as I see some snow, I will get a snowblower.
Well, I'm telling you, son.
I may just get just take a helicopter and fly really low. That's all you need to do down here.
Well, if things continue the way that they're going, it's gonna, my Lord, it's gonna start getting cold down by you. We had so much snow last year. I actually now my hangar faces south, and I always thought that the south-facing hangar would heat up and be more comfortable and be more accessible, and that wasn't the case. I love the guys who work at the airport, and they're all they're great guys. Certainly didn't mean any harm when they plowed by my door and got all the slush against the door. So I was going to come out there with a hammer and shovel and just say, forget about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's not easy in the winter. Yeah, I worked the FBO. I worked the flight level in Norwood for a few years, and just seeing the winters and seeing how the line guys deal with that. Boy, that's a tough gig.
Wow, no kidding.
You got to put it somewhere, and especially like you say, the winter you just had up there, how it was just crazy. But there's nothing like flying when it's really cold. Though once you're in the plane and get warmed up, the planes love it, right? They like that kind of cold stuff.
Oh, performance through the roof.
Yeah, performance and just turbulence is way down generally, and it can be really nice. It can be really pretty,
Well, that's definitely the asset for being in New England. Being here in the fall, in the winter when we really don't have all the competition at the airport. I mean, that's a big deal too. After all, here we are during the depth of the summer. We're competing with everybody and their mother on the tarmac.
Right, absolutely, yeah. And tell me too, Howard, for those listeners, as you know, the president usually comes to the vineyard a few weeks every summer, and it doesn't exactly shut everything down, does it? Or can you do? Can schools be doing any flights down the vineyard there, or they're just shut down?
Negative. TFR, baby. Unless you are a scheduled flight, you have to file an IFR, and it has to be done far in advance, and it has to be approved, and it has to be from a gateway airport to a gateway airport.
But you can't even fly the pattern?
Correct.
Okay, I see. I wasn't sure if they made an exception for that because little Cessnas around the pattern, wouldn't seem like much of a threat, but I suppose they could be.
I think the official FAA answer is hell no.
Yeah, that makes no sense. Yeah, because I know that we're affected. I believe Mansfield is within that. I got my license at Mansfield, and I believe they're within the circle, the TFR. That must be kind of rough for the people that like to fly in the summers. 2 weeks, you've got to get out of there. But I didn't know if they made any exceptions for the local schools or but I guess they can't.
No, not at all, and for all the right reasons. What's interesting is that there are biplane sightseeing rides out of Edgartown, Antique Aviators, and after years of the Clinton administration keeping them from making money during the two of the most productive weeks of their very short summer season, they finally got the FAA to authorize, or now I don't know who it was. Obviously, it was TSA and the feds who brought agents to Katama and wand people down.
Oh, okay. I guess they got to do what they got to do. It's a crazy world after 9/11,
Well, yep, and they can also only fly over the Edgartown area. They cannot bust the Class D airspace or go west toward Up Island, where the president the president stays. So the good thing is that they were actually allowing him to make a living.
Nice.
Now, there is a gentleman who does flight schools, Paul Santapiero, who is also kicked out of business for 2 weeks, but they don't compensate him. So all activity out of Martha's Vineyard Airport.
Plan their vacations then at a time when they really could be making some income, But
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And, So you were out today, Howie. Tell me what kind of planes were you flying today?
Actually, that's right. I shared with you earlier. I went on 2 flights. I went up in a German light sport called an Aeroprat, a 22 LS. Aeroprat. Aeroprakt. And I believe it's from the Czech Republic, but it's got German engineering. What I mean is, I do not know where the parts are made, but oh my Lord in heaven, the over-engineered. I mean,
Really?
the fit and finish that this aircraft has was phenomenal. Now, that's just the way it looked. The way it flew also absolutely blew me away.
Really? Yeah.
First of all, it flew comfortable like a large plane, but we remember it's light sport, 1,300 pounds, under, I forget what the horsepower is, but it's got a geared Rotex, oil-cooled or fluid-cooled, and a bulletproof engine, those things. Nice
Really?
big cabin. The doors bow out. The glass in the doors, the plexiglass in the doors bow out. And when you shut the door, you look to the right, you're looking straight down, John.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I mean, straight down. And I mean, huge windscreen in front, bubble type doors on the left and right, which are removable when it's
Right.
nice out. Now, we went out and did some slow flight. Now, John, if I was to ask you, what would the mile per hour slow flight be in your world?
You mean guessing what your slow flight was in that little?
No, I'm saying in your world. You're flying what? A Cherokee
my
or
flight was slow flight. Oh,
a 172? What do you fly? What's slow flight for you?
Slow flight. Oh.
Yeah, 70, 60, something like that.
Yeah, I'd say maybe high 50s. You were just right on the edge of stalling. Yeah, maybe 60. Let's say 60.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, try like 30.
Oh, wow.
We're
Wow.
at 40, and this thing is still flying. And I'm
Really?
watching, and I'm watching the speed, and it's going down and down and down and down, and we're still flying. We're not losing altitude. We have total control over direction. And all of a sudden, I guess by definition, a stall. The nose drops, and you push the stick forward an inch, and you're flying again.
Really? Wow.
Haven't lost altitude and direction
Oh, that's it.
control.
Yeah.
I mean, we did it over and over and over again. I'm going, this is kind of nuts, because in my Cherokee, which is unique because it's, what do they call it? A Cherokee Archer. It's got the constant speed prop,
Okay, right. Yeah.
and it's got the Horton stall kit. So I can get real slow. But when I get down, I start buffeting around, 48, 50 knots, 47 there. You feel the inside root start to give way, and you got the little buffeting.
Yeah.
And then when my airplane, quote unquote, stalls, it falls like a leaf,
Right.
flat, and it goes left and right, left, right. Then you push the nose, give it throttle, and so my Cherokee doesn't drop a wing and fall, but it's got the Horton kit on it. But this thing, it climbed at 1,100 feet a minute, and
nice.
it burns 3 gallons an hour.
Right. Wow.
Gas.
I didn't get to play around as much as you obviously did, but I did fly. I went up. I believe I went up with one of the instructors that in a 162, and I just went around and played around. And it was fun. It's different, isn't it? The light sport thing, the whole weight.
So wait a minute. You went up in a Skycatcher?
Skycatcher, right? Yeah. Just to try. I just tried it once at Mansfield with someone. They just had one there. They were doing. You could try it out. This is when it first came out. In fact, I think Mansfield has a Skycatcher on their fleet.
I'm going to say, with all due respect, I actually, for a period of time, I quote unquote was a salesman for Maine Aviation. Well, I was in contract, but I guess in reality it didn't work out so well, because all of a sudden somebody here in the vineyard bought themselves a Skycatcher from Maine Aviation. And I thought that was weird. I thought I was the guy, but it didn't matter. Turns out the guy he loves it. He loves that little airplane. And
yeah, I mean, I got a feeling the one you flew, like you said, the workmanship and the craftsmanship, the Skycatcher, it was just a basic, fundamental, aerodynamically sound baby Cessna, But I mean, it was bare bones. I mean, it didn't have panels on the inside. It was still you could see the control cables, and it was like, wow, this is kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, what I remember more than anything is the responsiveness of the yoke and the rudder. I mean, it was like everything was like twice as fast, or by moving half as much. And I kind of get used to a Cessna where you can do pretty big input controls without getting too aggressive a maneuver. But the little ones, they're tight little things, aren't they?
Well, actually, thank you for bringing that up, because the control surfaces have so much more authority because there's so much less weight to push around.
Yeah, that's got to be it. That's got to be most of it. Yeah, right.
And you're absolutely right. I've flown Sky Arrows, and I've been in quite a few light sports, and they all tend to be really responsive. I mean, by that nature. But
I think you're right. I think it's just the nature of a plane, about half the gross of your plane on 172. And tell me, do you think, Howie, that the light sport is kind of the third class medical backdoor way to get into aviation?
Well, you can certainly define it by that if you wish.
But I mean, it seems that I think they were expecting them to really explode when they first came out, because a lot of people, maybe getting older, and also the cost, like you say, if you're talking 3 gallons an hour, how much can a flight school charge?
Well, you actually skipped over the confounding part. You're right about the fuel, and you're right about the needing a driver's license. The problem is that if you're going to get into them for $120,000, $140,000, that, my friend, is a problem.
Yeah, exactly. You think, like, if they were 45, okay, but yeah, I mean, for another 50, you're getting a basic single.
Well, what you're getting is nice, but my point is, I don't know about you, but there's just not a lot of people I know that got an extra $100,000 for something that you can't fly in IFR, you can't fly at night. I mean, there's it's only 2 people and hardly any luggage, if any. So
yeah, that's true. It's almost the utility of it. It's almost something you buy a kid to fly till he, something, or it doesn't have a real practical place in general aviation. It's still kind of like a light sport,
Well, there's lots of changes now. I'm involved with the Light Sport Expo in Sebring. Hey, Jenna, Gary, and shout out to those guys. They're the areas where the light sports seem to be very attractive are with flight schools and shared ownership. So the clubs, the schools, and the shared ownership. And the virtue here, of course, is that you can amortize the expense over the whole group, and that really will make sense. Now, if they didn't lose so much at the purchase, that would also be, if they came down a little more, under 100,000, and after a couple of years, you could get recoup most of your investment. Those things sound right. But anyways, flight schools seem to be the way to go.
Yeah. I wonder too if anyone, if they ever do primary training, where maybe they start you on a light sport, maybe even solo you on a light sport, give you a little cross country time, then bump you up to like a Cessna or a Piper.
Well, actually, that's exactly what we were talking about. That you get your fundamentals down, you learn the basics, the terms, the talk, radio and
weather. Everything.
And then you migrate up to something a little bit more traditional. Listen, this is going to put us pretty much at mid-time, so I'm going to phase out for a little bit of commercial, and if that's all right with you, we'll be back in just a few minutes.
We'll be right back.
Good afternoon. This is your captain speaking with just a little flight information. Coming up on the left, we're going to be catching a glimpse of the Grand Canyon. On the right, you can be able to see the Hoover Dam in just a few minutes. We're flying at an altitude of 37,000 feet, and our airspeed is 400 miles an hour. Couple little facts here. I'm packing a Colt King Cobra. That's a .357 caliber firearm with a black rubber grip and a 6-inch barrel. Also, the co-pilot is carrying a Kimber Custom Defense pistol with all the bells and whistles you'd expect from a custom gun of that kind, with an alloy frame and bevel treatment on the entire gun. And our chief flight attendant, Roger, has a Ruger Bearcat at 22 with a hand-fluted cylinder. All three are capable of piercing body armor at a distance of up to 27 feet, and it can put a hole in human bone and flesh the size of the Grand Canyon, which, by the way, is coming up on the left-hand side of the plane, so just sit back and relax and enjoy the rest of the flight.
She aimed for my chest with love in she was looking
Welcome to
Okay, well, we are back. Well, that was a beautiful little interstitial.
Oh, good. Beautiful.
And that segues right into the second half of my morning, where I went up and shot a half a dozen approaches with my friend Gary in his Archer.
Okay, my instructor had an Archer. I love it. What a great, solid airplane.
Yeah, we were joking about how he went up and got night current last night, and I kind of got on his case because he didn't call me, because I love flying at night. Any excuse is a good one for me. And so we pulled the plane out, and like the body looks like $1 million, but the wings are all oxidized. And
really? Okay.
I mean, could you put a little wax on it? And I told him, I'd make him a deal right now. I'm going to wax this damn plane. I'm going to wax your plane. Give me a couple of hours for that, and we're good. So he laughed, and we're probably going to end up doing that. But
either that, let the whole plane oxidize and put a couple of Air Force emblems on it.
Yeah, right. That's not a bad idea. Yeah. So anyway, what we did is we shot some ILS approaches, and what was great was for me is I'm getting back into my instrument training. The aircraft I just bought in January has 2 VORs. I'm good for that. It has an antique Moro, the GPS that UPS used to use some 30 years ago. You can't update the database, so you can't really use it. But it is slaved into the VORs, and Martha's Vineyard still hasn't moved. I can't use that GPS for my training or for the actual flying, but I can use the VORs.
Right.
And so we're up there, and of course, Gary's got his iPad out, and he's using all the newer technology. But here I am staring at the VORs, and it was fine. It was good. Actually, for me, since I'm going to start pick up my training again with seriousness over the next week or two.
Oh, good, yeah. I mean, we should never. You really don't want to get rusty on your basic VORs, no matter what, because there's always, as you know, there's shit happens, and it's always good to just have the old-fashioned thing. They don't fail very often,
Well, I hear you, and the important thing is to stay current, which is why IMC Club exists.
Absolutely.
And the people that I'm involved with here, I've flown up to Maine. I've been a number of places with people just wanting a right seat pilot, a safety pilot, and so I feel I'm ready. I mean, I've got some 400 hours, and finally getting an aircraft that I can use for my IFR training.
Oh, that's excellent. I think that's really important to you, that using the same aircraft and it's yours, you take care of it a little different, but you really get to know it, because, when you move around different airplanes, as I'm sure you have, and you're doing training, it can throw you. It's tough enough.
Oh, well, it's interesting. I mean, just flying the Aeroprac this morning with where the different controls were, that was one thing. And then being in my friend's Archer this afternoon and having the controls in yet different places, it was interesting. You had to think the whole time. When you're in your own airplane, like you said, you get muscle memory, you get familiar to the scenarios, to the series of steps.
Yeah.
And where your hand's going to be, where things are much more expected. So anyway, for my training, I'm really looking forward to that. And
that's great.
Yeah, what I've decided to do was I'm going to take the entire day. I have a couple of days off where I'm going to dedicate the entire day. So I'll, if possible, if it's a VFR day, because I need to get up there, fly up in the morning, spend my day at the airport, work on my written again, because it expired. I have to take it again. And
so you took it a couple of years ago.
I did.
Yeah, okay. That's good that you did, though. At least you got the head work now. You'll get it back.
Oh, I'm sure. I did it 89. I was fine with that. And
that's
well, you also have the King's DVD, and you sit down for 24 hours for 2 full days, both DVDs. You run through the entire thing and then take your test. So everything's on top of mind.
Wow, they really have it down to a logical.
Well, that's the boot camp.
Yeah.
And I went through the boot camp training.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, boy, they're legends. I mean, they're training, their whole training techniques and.
Oh, you mean the Kings? Yeah.
They got so popular. I mean, a lot of people have. I mean, there's a lot of people that have written great books and have great stuff, but for some reason, they really they do it well, huh?
Well, it's certainly, I gravitated right back to them. I'd used other systems, and I still have other systems, around. But anyway, the point is, yes, sir, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm sure I've got a lot of great supervision. We're going to see how things go. I'm going to be working through Radek.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, it doesn't get better than that.
And hopefully when it's all said and done, I'll come out with my instrument, my IFR, and not that I want to go commercial. For me, I'm 61. That's not my goal. My goal is to be proficient, so when I'm flying in and out of my home turf here around the islands, I don't get myself snookered into a position I didn't want to be in.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly right. You can make a big argument for this, but I just started on my instrument and really got into it. I got much more into it book-wise than I did actual flying, kind of ran out of money. But I still don't get why it should almost be mandatory, Howie. I mean, you should, if you fly a plane, and it's a big argument whether, you have VFR guys and IFR, but like you say, especially where you are, the fog rolls in, or, I think that they should train the instrument private should kind of be one thing, but I'm sure it's a cost thing,
Well, yeah, it is. But, John, I'm going to tell you, one of my first real cost countries, I went down to Maryland for the afternoon on a business trip, and I was with a friend who was a CFI, thank God, and it was a VFR day, expected to be VFR all afternoon into the evening. All the prognostics were, as good as can be. Well, wouldn't you know it, as we're making our way back from the New York Tri-City area, it starts to get a little hazy. By the time we got over Block Island, there was quite the haze on top of the water. Right. And as we're approaching the vineyard from the southwest, you can't see the island.
Yeah. And well, you're smart. Well, you knew to bring in you knew to have someone with you, a CFI.
Well, it happened that I was with him. It wasn't as if I planned to do this trip with a CFI. However, the point is, because he was there, I felt much more comfortable.
Yeah.
I just announced to him, we're going to Hyannis, and we're going to stay in a hotel or catch the fast ferry back to the vineyard or whatever. But as we transected the airspace, we got to the northeast side of the island. It was all cleared up.
Yeah, isn't that amazing over there? That is amazing.
All cleared up. So we turned and came in on 2-4 and all was well. Hey, listen, John, I'm just going to keep this to a half an hour show.
Sounds good, Howie. Yeah, sounds good.
And we got about 30 seconds. So, again, I want to give a shout-out to Radek Vichikowski and Derek Lagasse, our teammates, and hope we'll have them again next week. Well, Hey guys, from the golden microphones of IMC Radio, this has been Plain Talk. I'm Howie Marlin, and
And I'm John Roberts signing off, and we'll hear you all soon.
we'll hear you all on the radio. You guys have a safe week. We'll see you in 2 weeks.